The Jordan Show on YouTube.
So, what if you could actually use Bitcoin to buy your morning coffee? Well, today we're diving deep into the technology that's trying to make that a reality, the Lightning Network. We're going to break down exactly how it works and what it could mean for the future of digital money. Yeah, this quote really hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? Using Bitcoin's main network for something small and simple is like taking out a full-page ad to tell the world you bought a latte. It creates some pretty big challenges with speed and cost, and that's the core problem we're here to unpack. All right, so to make sense of all this, we're going to tackle three big questions in this explainer. First off, what even is this Lightning Network thing? Second, what problem was it actually built to fix, and how does it do it? And finally, if this technology is so great, what's still standing in the way?
Okay, so before we can really get into the solution, we've got to understand the problem, right? Why did we even need the Lightning Network in the first place? Well, it all comes down to how the original Bitcoin blockchain was designed.
And wow, the difference here is just night and day. When you put Bitcoin's main network right next to something like Visa, you see the trade-offs immediately. Bitcoin's base layer is slow. We're talking minutes, sometimes longer, to confirm a payment, and the fees can be all over the place. That's just not going to work for buying a coffee. And this is such a brilliant way to think about it. The main Bitcoin blockchain is built to be unbelievably secure, permanent, like a slab of granite. It's absolutely perfect for huge, important transactions that you want set in stone forever. But you wouldn't use a block of granite to write down your shopping list, would you? It's just not the right tool for the job. So, if the base layer is granite, what's the fix? Well, that's where the Lightning Network comes in. Think of it as a super fast, efficient layer 2 that's built right on top of that granite foundation, designed specifically to handle all that fast and cheap transaction stuff. So the key, the absolute fundamental building block of the Lightning Network, is something called a payment channel. This is the big idea. It's basically a private arrangement between two people that lets them shoot money back and forth without having to announce every single little payment to the entire world. You know, the easiest way to wrap your head around this is to think of it like opening a bar tab. You walk into a bar, you give the bartender your card, that's kind of like one main transaction. Then, for the rest of the night, you and your friends buy drinks, and the bartender just keeps a running total on the tab. You're not swiping your card for every single beer. So here's how that actually plays out. Two people kick things off by opening a channel, and that takes just one transaction on the main blockchain. Then they can make basically unlimited payments back and forth, instantly, with super low fees, all happening off-chain. When they're all done, they close the channel with one last transaction. Think about that. Thousands of payments boiled down to just two little entries on that digital granite. Okay, but wait a minute. This is the big question, right? It's great if you've got a direct channel, a bar tab, with someone you pay all the time. But you can't have a direct tab open with every single coffee shop and website on the planet. So how do you pay someone you're not directly connected to? Okay, stick with me here, because the magic that turns all these individual tabs into an actual network comes from a pretty clever bit of cryptography called a hashed time lock contract, or HTLC. Now, I know that sounds complicated, but the idea behind it is pretty simple. It's just a way to set up a payment that only goes through if certain conditions are met, which means nobody has to trust each other. Let's just walk through a quick example. So Alice wants to pay Carol. She doesn't have a channel with Carol, but she does have one with Bob, and Bob has one with Carol. The payment gets locked all the way from Alice to Carol using a secret that only Carol knows. Once Carol gets the locked payment, she reveals her secret to unlock her funds. That secret then travels backward along the path, unlocking Bob's payment from Alice. It's like an instant chain reaction that either works perfectly or doesn't work at all. No one's money can get stuck in the middle. So what's the bottom line here? The results are, well, they're pretty dramatic. You go from payments that take minutes to payments that take seconds. You go from fees that could be dollars to fees that are fractions of a penny. The total number of transactions the network can handle just explodes. Lightning really does transform Bitcoin into something capable of being a high-speed, low-cost payment system. All right, so the tech is amazing, right? It sounds like the perfect solution. But, and this is a big but, solving the engineering puzzle is really only half the story. Now we need to get real and look at the actual, real-world challenges that are still in the way of this thing going mainstream. And these hurdles, they really fall into four main buckets. First, you've got the user experience, which includes this kind of tricky idea of liquidity. Then there are the economic incentives to keep the whole network running smoothly. You've also got the elephant in the room. Bitcoin's wild price swings, and finally, all the open questions around regulation and taxes. Now, a huge piece of that user experience puzzle comes down to this big trade-off. On one hand, you have custodial wallets. They're super easy to use, just like your banking app. But the catch is, someone else is holding your money. On the other hand, self-custodial wallets give you total control. You're your own bank. But they come with a steeper learning curve. You have to manage your own channels and make sure you have liquidity, which is just a fancy way of saying you have enough money in the right places to send payments. And hey, this isn't just some theories stuck in a white paper. This stuff is being put to the test in the real world, like right now. You've got places like Bitcoin Beach in El Salvador that are basically living labs where people are using Lightning every day to buy groceries, and then you have huge apps like Cash App that have built it right in, bringing the technology to millions of people and helping to iron out some of those user experience wrinkles. So when we put all these pieces together, what does it all mean for the future? Well, the Lightning Network is a really serious attempt to answer a huge question. Can Bitcoin grow up from being just digital gold and become something more like actual digital cash? And I think this quote just perfectly captures the entire philosophy behind this whole thing. The Lightning Network's answer is to respect Bitcoin's main layer, that digital granite, for what it is, and to stop asking it to do a job it was never designed for. We stop asking the global permanent record to keep track of every single coffee we buy. So, if there's one thing to take away, it's this. The Lightning Network solves a massive, critical engineering problem. It creates a pathway for turning a slow, super secure settlement layer into a high-speed payment network for everyday stuff. And it does it without messing with the security of that original granite layer. But, and this is the thought I really want to leave you with, is that brilliant technical solution actually enough? With all the challenges of changing people's habits, dealing with price volatility, and navigating regulations still very much on the table, the question remains. Can a brilliant engineering fix all by itself turn an asset into money that people actually use every single day? That is still a very open question.